So recently I've noticed the discourse about Chris Chibnall undoing the Master's character development, with Sacha Dhawan making an ugly return on Doctor Who Twitter, with some even arguing that his incarnation should canonically come before Michelle Gomez. And the purpose of this video is to explain why that argument is really dumb, and also why the whole Missy redemption arc is massively overhyped and flawed to begin with. Whenever I see people debating the order of the Masters and who should come before who, it reminds me a lot of the argument about whether or not the Timeless Child should be retconned from canon, like as if that would make any difference. I've long maintained that lore is inconsequential, and as such obsessing over it is pointless, especially with a show like Doctor Who that has been running for almost 60 years under a whole bunch of different creative teams, and so is inevitably going to have contradictions all over the place anyway. Sure, I guess you could argue that if Dhawan's Master comes after Missy, then having him be evil again undermines the character development she went through. However, the issue with that is I never really bought said character development to begin with. I don't know why exactly Stephen Moffat felt the urge to write a redemption arc for the Master. I mean, I suppose redeeming the bad guys was the in thing at the time after it was popularised by the likes of Steven Universe. Hell, My Little Pony attempted it about 6 or 7 times, and you can say what you like about that, I certainly did, but at least none of those characters being redeemed were mass murderers. Yeah, I firmly believe as a general rule there are certain types of characters who you just shouldn't be trying to redeem, and those include Nazis, sexual predators and serial killers, and the Master falls into at least one, possibly even 2 of those categories. Now, I'm not saying that any of these people are necessarily incapable of turning over a new leaf and redeeming themselves, it's just that generally, in real life, they don't, and so to portray them in such a way is irresponsible, because once you start sympathising with serial killers, you're on a very dangerous slope. And before anyone starts getting sanctimonious about how everyone deserves a chance to be a better person, would you actually apply that same moral standard if we were talking about Ted Bundy or Harold Shipman as opposed to a fictional character? Would that really be respectful to their victims and their families? Yeah, I think a lot of Missy arc fans forget just how horrific the Master's crimes actually are. This is not just a Saturday morning cartoon villain we're talking about, camp as the character might have been portrayed on occasion. If you are going to seriously attempt a redemption with this kind of antagonist, then there's only one way you can go about it as far as I'm concerned, and that is to have them turn themselves in and spend the rest of their life locked up in prison where they can't harm anyone, because that's the only place they belong. What you absolutely shouldn't be doing is having Missy parading around pretending to be the Doctor. Yeah, whenever it flashes back to that scene of the Doctor and Bill having a heart-to-heart in World Enough and Time, it always feels jarring, since Bill is a member of 2 marginalised groups and so should be well used to having to deal with white-splainers and apologists telling her to be reasonable while members of her communities are literally being mown down in hate crimes. If the script had any self-awareness whatsoever, she'd be wringing the Doctor's neck and saying, look, I know she used to be your friend and you really want her to be better and you think you can change her, but that's how every abusive relationship works, and also you don't redeem mass murderers, now take your medicine. Now, I'm sure some of you will be quick to point out that Missy's final scene in which she vows to stand with the Doctor indicates that she has genuinely changed, but the Doctor doesn't know that, and let's not forget, Missy only pledged to be a better person initially so that the Doctor would spare her life. And this is a character known for being manipulative and doing or saying things just to gain a tactical advantage. I mean, just look at the end of Time. Everything about that segment from Extremis reeks of "you're only sorry you got caught." Of course, if you didn't want to have the Master be permanently locked up, you could always go the Star Wars route and kill them off, which is what Moffat sort of did ultimately, but this is a 60-year-long franchise. You're not going to just kill the main villain and not bring them back at some point. Like how every time we're shown the ultimate end of the Daleks, you know there's always going to be one ship that survives, because that's what we all want to see. And that being the case, I'd much rather have the portrayal of the Master we got than the Doctor awkwardly turning up at UNIT and saying, hey Tegan, this is my friend, you know, the guy who horrifically murdered your aunt, but don't worry, he's on our side now. I think she would definitely have had a few choice words to say about that. Besides, I can fully believe something like the Timeless Child would have sent the Master over the edge again. I mean, like I said, predators and serial killers usually do relapse, even after periods of being apologetic and remorseful. In any case, I'm strongly of the opinion that lore and continuity will always be secondary to telling a good story, and as I've said previously, Sacha Dhawan is one of my all-time favourite incarnations of the Master. I respect that is of course quite subjective, but at the end of the day, you can still go back and enjoy the Missy arc. The existence of Dhawan's Master doesn't prevent you from doing that. It's just a different era of the show with another new creative team and a fresh take on the character. And as I've also said plenty of times before, Doctor Who is a show that needs to keep on evolving. And, you know, not do things like bring back old doctors and showrunners, but that's a subject for another time. I'm Midnight, and I just lost my train of thought. If you'd like to support this channel, then head over to my eBay store Cult Coven, where I sell lots of nerdy things. I'll put the link in the description below. Thank you.